Hey again, Monster fans, and welcome to another edition of Monsters OT. We are proudly presented by Century Federal right here on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. I'm Tony Brown. We'll hear from my partner, Brad Thiessen, in just a minute. But we've got a big show for you today. We'll get started with headlines. Then we're going to get to know Monsters goaltender Jet Greaves, talk pierogies as the Monsters prepare for Pucks and Pierogies weekend, presented by Rebath here at Rocket Arena coming up. And also, we'll cap things off with our Monsters alumni segment, which is always presented by True North Convenience Stores. But as usual, let's begin the show with headlines. All right, on headlines, Brad, let's begin now as we welcome Brad Thiessen in with the North Division standings. Because this time of year, Brad, that's what it's all about. Monsters trying to firm up their playoff positioning. They're currently in a playoff spot in fourth place in the North Division standings. You see just 2 points behind third place Toronto. Laval and Rochester kind of running away with the division a little bit in terms of points, separating themselves here. But with 8 games left in the regular season, more on that in a minute, Brad, Monsters right in the thick of like a 3-4 team race for those final couple of playoff spots.
Yeah, right where you want to be in this time of year. You want to be playing meaningful games. The Monsters have given themselves that opportunity to be playing some of these games, and the guys are excited down the stretch here to see what happens.
Yeah, and those 3 teams that are battling right now include Belleville, Syracuse, and Cleveland. Monsters with a successful trip to Belleville got a couple of wins. That was huge and really damaging to the Senators' playoff hopes, but Syracuse just 1 point back of Cleveland. And so, Brad, I mean, it's really a 3-team race there. If you put Toronto in, no matter where they fall, third, fourth, whatever, it's those 3 teams with 2 spots, and so it's really coming down to the wire.
Yeah, like you said, those 2 games in Belleville were huge for the Monsters to be able to pick those ones up on the road. And you want to be in that 2-3. You don't want to follow the 4-5 where you got to play an extra play-in round to get into the playoffs. So Monsters are shooting for that 3-hole.
Let's keep things going on headlines now and talk about the remaining schedule. Let's drill down on that, Brad, because the Monsters, as we mentioned, down to just 8 games left on their schedule. And there's some tough teams here, including Wilkes-Barre, Scranton 3 times, Toronto, Grand Rapids, Lehigh Valley, Rochester, all playoff teams. Every game is going to be a serious battle.
Yeah, it is. And obviously those 2 at the Marlies kind of stand out to me as you see that with the Monsters trying to hunt them down in the standings. So got to take care of some business before those games, but a lot of tough opponents down the stretch.
Yeah, Cleveland 10-9-5 this season against the teams they have yet to face, so just under 500 there in terms of the record. And we'll drill even deeper now as we go to our next bullet point on headlines. It's the final homestand for the Monsters of the regular season. These are huge games coming up, 4 of them, all of them on Rock Entertainment Sports Network, Brad. But beginning on the 4th and 5th, Friday and Saturday against Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. These are massive games, and the Penguins still have a lot to play for despite already locking up a spot in the postseason.
Yeah, massive games. I imagine massive crowds as well. The Monsters looking forward to playing in front of their home fans here down the stretch. A place where the Monsters got to start finding some points lately. They haven't got those home wins lately, so good opportunity here with the 4 games left on the home front.
Yeah, Monsters had a couple of tough ones at home recently against the Texas Stars, but after those games against Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, then some interesting matchups here, Brad. Let's talk about Grand Rapids first. They're coming to town on Wednesday the 9th. Monsters haven't seen them for a while, and the Griffins have kind of tailed off just a little bit in that battle for a Central Division seeding there, but they're a tough team. They always play Cleveland tough. That's going to be a big one.
Yeah, Cleveland's own Dan Watson lives here in the off season with his family, so it's always fun for him to come back and play the Monsters. But a fun game. Monsters always have that rivalry going with the Griffins, even though they're not in the same division anymore. So that'll be a fun night.
And then, of course, the final home game of the regular season is a noon matinee on the 12th of April. That's a Saturday, and it's against Toronto. And I almost think of this as like part of the road trip because the Monsters are going to need to leave right after the game to get to Toronto to play the Marlies again the next day. And talking about the Marlies, you talk about all the success Cleveland's had against them, but, this time of year, you truly have to throw that all out. They're going to be just as desperate as the Monsters are.
Yeah, for sure. That'll be a big one, last home game of the year, Fan Appreciation Day. It's always a fun one for the fans. A noon start. Players love those noon games. You get up, go to the rink and play hockey, so that should be a big one.
Yep, and not often do you have to leave post-game to get to the next city to play the same team all over again, but that'll be the case. So let's talk about finishing on the road, Brad, because I know when the schedule comes out in the middle of the summer, we all take a look, we all dissect it and look at the trips. and that one has always looked like a real bear. Final week of the regular season, 4 different opponents, lots of travel. Toronto, Rochester, Lehigh Valley, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. These are all tough teams, but that's going to be a daunting finish to the season. You know, it's tough to get out on the road and have to grind it out.
Yeah, it is, but sometimes, you know, at that tough point of the year, you know, you lose the distractions of being at home with friends and family and all those kind of things. You're on the road just with the teammates, just focused on winning. And remember last year, the Monsters finished with that 3-3 on the road, swept all those 3 games and won the division. So it might be, you know, something that could help the Monsters.
Yeah, it's true. Getting on the road means one thing. It's strictly business, and so the Monsters will need to take care of business for sure. And you can follow along on that final road trip by listening to all the action on Fox Sports 1350 The Gambler, and of course on AHL TV on Flow Hockey. All right, let's keep things going now on headlines and talk about a guy who recently made an outstanding debut at the professional level for the Monsters, and I'm talking about former Ottawa 67's captain Luca Pinelli. Now, he was competing this year in the OHL, a Blue Jackets draft pick and a Blue Jackets signee, and boy, against Texas, he made quite an impression here, Brad, on a line with Hunter McCown and Jordan Dumais, and they created some serious chemistry right away. Yeah,
it was great to see. He's got that dog in him. He loves to be in the dirty areas of the ice and not afraid to get his nose dirty. So he showed that right away. Didn't dip his toe in the water. He was right in the mix all weekend, and you can see him drawing defenders to him because he's in the middle of the ice and opening things up for Sammy Kanazko on this goal you see. And him and Jordan Dumais, McCown, they all had some chemistry right off the bat.
They really did. 2 assists for Pinelli in his first professional game and a strong game the next night, too. But let's just go a little further with his attributes. What's going to make him successful in the pro game? You said he's got that dog in him, but he's also got a whole bunch of skill, and he can sort of be versatile.
Yeah, I mean, as you see on this play here, he's in the corner, but he's winning that battle for the puck, and then he has the skill to be able to make that pass to Hunter McCown. So a guy who can put some points on the board, but he's also not afraid to play in those dirty areas.
Well, I got another guy just like that, and that's the next guy we're talking about on headlines, Trey Fix-Wolansky. He has long been sort of the catalyst for Cleveland's offense for years and years, but he has really flipped the switch here lately, Brad. In the Monsters' last 3 wins, he scored all 3 of those game-winning goals. He's now up to, top 5 in the league with 7 game winners this year, back up into the top 15 in the league in scoring, and when the pressure mounts and when the Monsters need offense, he is there, and Cleveland has turned to him here in these last few weeks.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, there was a little bit of a point there in the season where he dipped a little bit, but as the season comes to the close and the Monsters are needing guys to step up, Trey stepped up, and that's something that he's been known to do for the Monsters. He loves the big moments, and you see here he uses that wrist shot of his to snipe one home, and he was great on that weekend homestand.
Yeah, in his last 6 games, he's got 6 goals and 7 points, so really he is kind of the fulcrum upon which the Monsters' offense is swinging at the current moment, and that's good news because for many, many seasons now, he has been Mr. Clutch for Cleveland, and the same has been true this year. All right, time to keep it moving still on headlines with another round of new players for the Monsters. These are guys that have signed ATOs, that's amateur tryout contracts. Now, a couple of these players have signed for next season. In fact, all 3, I believe, 2 with the Blue Jackets, and then, of course, the Monsters signing Rylan Mosley to an AHL deal for next year. So let's talk, Brad, about each of these 3 guys, and we'll begin with Mosley, who has 2 games under his belt already for Cleveland. He's a forward out of the University of Wisconsin with Michigan Tech before that, but he looks like a guy that is a hard worker and will fit in at this level.
Yeah, I think that thing that stood out was his motor. He can skate, he can move. He's pretty strong and sturdy. He's got a really good shot. So someone that didn't look out of place in his 2 games that he played with Cleveland already.
Now, I know you haven't seen much of him yet. He was in practice just a little bit, but Guillaume Richard joins up from Providence College in Hockey East in the NCAA ranks, and this is a Blue Jackets draft choice that has yet to play in a game, but I've heard some reports on him being a great skater and a guy that can really help the Monsters on the back end, which is an area that they need to focus on down the stretch.
Yeah, being at development camps the last few years, seen a lot of Guillaume Richard, and excited to have him here in the fold finally. Really good college player at Providence for his 4 years, and someone, like you said, he can skate the puck, move it, and will really help with the breakout.
Yeah, and of course, a guy with some offensive talent as well. I think 14 points at the college level this year for the Friars. Let's talk now about Tyler Peddle as well. Richard going to wear number 26, Peddle wearing number 19 for Cleveland, but this is a hard-working winger, sort of a checking forward, right, out of the Quebec Major Junior League.
Yeah, big, strong kid. likes to get in on the forecheck and create some havoc down there. But again, another guy who's strong, can shoot the puck. So another guy that we're looking forward to having.
All right, let's wrap up headlines now. Brad, talking about Jet in a Jet bobblehead night, a great night recently in front of a huge crowd at Rocket Arena, 14,000 plus. For the 11th time this year, the Monsters packed in over 14K to the arena, but it was all to celebrate Jet Greaves, an icon of goaltending in the organization's history. And in his last 3 starts, he's just been at his best, just under 96% in terms of the save percentage, peaking at the right time and deserving of this recognition.
Yeah, he was, I mean, that night's not always easy because you got so much distraction going on. You got the bobblehead night, he's got a ton of family and friends in town. The guys all giving him a hard time for having his own bobblehead, but he showed up like he always does and gave the Monsters a chance to win. He's been really strong lately, and expect the same down the stretch here.
It was kind of fun to see the fans lined up around the building to get their hands on that unique bobblehead, and of course he played outstanding as the Monsters dropped that game, but that night was a great night to say thank you to Jet Greaves. And as we wrap up headlines now with plenty more Monsters OT ahead, let's get to know a little bit more about the Monsters' best goalie they've ever had, the one, the only, Jet Greaves.
Jet Greaves.
Oh, that's Jetter. That's my boy, so.
That's our goalie, Jet Greaves, the man.
Cambridge, Ontario.
Jet's jersey number is number 73. I'd never forget that. I think Jet is the most normal goalie I've ever met in my life.
His favorite movie was The Outsiders, which I thought was really weird. That's a weird movie to be your favorite. So, yeah, I think he's pretty weird because of that.
Honestly, Jet's a very hardworking guy, probably one of the most hardworking guys on our team.
He's, one of the most well-rounded people I met.
An honest guy, and he's a really good friend.
He's one of the first guys in the rink every morning. So, he puts in a lot of time to his craft, and, his work pays off and it shows.
He's just a true pro, one of the nicest guys I've personally ever met in the game of hockey.
He's a great friend, and I'm really happy to have him as a teammate and a brother.
Welcome back, everyone, to Monsters OT, presented by Century Federal here on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. Tony Brown back here with you. A lot of show coming up, including our Monsters alumni segment, which is presented by True North Convenience Stores. But right now, let's keep with Jet Greaves because he has meant so much to the Cleveland Monsters. We recently had a chance to sit down with him for the Landscape Show, which is presented by Hospitality Staffing Solutions. We got to learn a little bit more about Jet and what makes him tick, what motivates him as he tries to make NHL life a full-time proposition for himself. Jet, thank you so much for sitting down, and let's get right into it. Let's start out with the beginning of your professional career. So if we can go back in time here, you've been with the Monsters for parts of 4 seasons, but you showed up after the COVID season in which you didn't play hockey at all the entire year. So let's go back to that point as you wrap up your junior career with the Barrie Colts in the Ontario League. What were your plans before the Blue Jackets reached out?
Yeah, that was kind of a really unique experience that year. Like you said, we had no season in the OHL, so we were all kind of looking for different ways to stay sharp and stay on the ice. So for us, what we did was my brother and I, we grew up playing on our backyard rink. My dad would always build when we were growing up. So that year, we kind of got it back going again. So it was myself, my brother, and our buddies. We skated on our rink. We'd skate on like ponds around, just anywhere we could find ice. And then fortunately, some of the ice opened up, and then a buddy of mine, actually Andrew Parrott, he had a tournament that he hosted in Erie. It was a showcase tournament, and that was great for a lot of us Ontario League guys that didn't have a season. We went there and we were able to play, and some teams were able to come watch us, so that was a lot of fun.
But let's now talk about Cleveland and its role in your career, but also in your life. I mean, you're a young guy, and you've been here now for literally a chunk of your life has been spent in Cleveland. So, from the city to the team, but really just for you personally, what's the city meant to you and getting you to your goals, which is the National Hockey League?
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been, like you said, it's been a big part of my life. I've been here for 4 years now. I'm 23. I came here when I was 20. I wasn't even legal to drink alcohol when I came here. So it's been, I feel like I've matured a lot in my time here, and it's been so great. I've met so many amazing people that have really helped me to grow and helped me to learn in so many areas of my life, and it's been just such a blessing being here and being able to build relationships with the people that I've met here. It's been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's obvious that you spend so much time with the players and the coaching staff, and those relationships are just built through shared experience. but you've also done something that few players get a chance to do in the American League, and that's build a true rapport with the fans. That only comes over the course of time, but to be able to play in an arena that can pack this amount of people in there, to be able to make a save and hear the reaction from the crowd, it must have made a difference in your confidence level, and it is certainly, I would imagine, has to have helped you on your way.
Yeah, it's a great experience for all of us being able to play here in Cleveland. Like you said, the fans are amazing. Here we're playing in front of so many fans every night, so you kind of get used to that. It's been fun to be in the same spot and kind of, like you said, build those relationships. You know, there are some fans that you see at different events, and you feel like you get to know them a little bit. So it's been awesome to have that experience here.
I mean, it's a major league type of experience that you have at that next level, but you get a taste of that here at this level, and there have to be a lot of lessons you learn in a city like Cleveland. I mean, we know across the American League there are a lot of different types of places you could end up playing, but here in Cleveland it seems like an appetizer to the big league level, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It feels like you said, it's a major league city. I mean, we have all the major sports are here, and it feels like it's a major sport when we come to a Monsters game. It's a lot of fun. It's a great arena that we're fortunate to play in, great fans, and it's a really great organization.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the things you've been able to do here in Cleveland, like, for instance, the club records. There are many of them that you now hold. In fact, almost all of the big ones in terms of goaltending, you've got them here. The team hasn't been around like a super long time, like decades upon decades, like many NHL teams have, but there is a great history of hockey in this city, and now your name is all over those record books. I just want to know, personally, how does that make you feel? You did that.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's not something I guess think about too much, but I'm very grateful and very fortunate to be a part of that, and to be, have the teammates that I've had and the people around me that have helped for that to be something that's even possible. I just feel very, very grateful and very blessed. It's not something I take for granted at all.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Monsters OT, presented by Century Federal here on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. And as you can see, we are about ready for Pucks and Pierogies weekend, with the Monsters coming up on April 4th and 5th. These uniforms are some of the best specialty jerseys I have ever seen in my career, and it's going to be so much fun. It's all presented by Rebath as the Monsters take on, or I should say the Pierogies, take on the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. These are important hockey games, but will also be a lot of fun as we celebrate Cleveland's Polish heritage. And of course, we'll have all kinds of good stuff, including pierogi specials at the concession stands. The Chardon Polka Band will be here all weekend. Plus, you can vote to name the Monsters' new pierogi mascot. Just head to the Monsters social channels at Monsters Hockey on all the platforms, and you can cast your vote there. Now, both games are going to be on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. You can get tickets at clevelandmonsters.com, but Jock Callender and myself were recently down in Public Square to get everyone into the pierogi spirit as we handed out some pierogies alongside the Pierogi Lady, an awesome business out of Akron. So let's take a look at all the pucks and pierogi fun as we get set for a signature promotional weekend at Rocket Arena. Here you go. There's the pierogi, the best part. So make sure you vote, okay? We got to name our mascot here, our pierogi mascot. So scan the QR code, vote on a name. One weekend only. Yeah, there you go. Would you like to try one? There you go.
Unless we win both games 10-0.
Right. What's going on? You guys like stickers? Got some stickers for you. All right, well, we'll see you at the games this weekend, okay? All right, see ya. Well, great day today here in Public Square to raise awareness for Pucks and Pierogies weekend, presented by Rebath. It's the 4th and 5th of April, Friday and Saturday night against Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Be there as the Monsters transform into the Cleveland Pierogies. Important games, too, for the playoff push, so get your tickets now at clevelandmonsters.com. In Public Square in downtown Cleveland, I'm Tony Brown. Welcome back, everyone, on Monsters OT, presented by Century Federal. Tony Brown back with you here for our Monsters alumni segment, which is brought to you by True North Convenience Stores, fast, friendly, clean. And Brad, today we're talking about the first ever head coach in the history of the then Lake Erie, now Cleveland Monsters, current Boston Bruins head coach Joe Sacco. What a career he's had, Brad. Of course, as a player, he spent 13 years split between the NHL, mostly in the NHL, and the American Hockey League, but then went straight from Cleveland to the Colorado Avalanche bench as their head coach for 4 seasons. He's been with the Bruins after 1 year as an assistant with the Sabres for like a long period of time, and he remains now their head coach as he took over for Jim Montgomery. But this is an established guy that got his start in Cleveland. Kind of fun.
Yeah, he did, and I remember him as a kid growing up watching him play for the Ducks. He was an honest forward, real good centerman, so someone who kind of translates to the coaching ranks, and someone who started here in Cleveland and did a really good job.
Yeah, and he's another example of a guy who took his time in Cleveland and turned it into an opportunity to coach at the next level. So the Monsters have proved to be a nice springboard for coaches, and of course Cleveland gets you ready for the big leagues.
It does. It's one of the better spots in the American League for coaches. It's a big league city, and a lot of things that help you prepare for the next level.
Well, that is it. Our True North alumni spotlight is Joe Sacco, the first head coach in Monsters history. That'll do it for another episode of Monsters OT. A lot of thank yous to hand out. First and foremost to my partner Brad Thiessen. Great job as always. Also want to say thanks to Leo Simone, Jeremy Hawks, the rest of our outstanding crew, to True North, and most importantly Century Federal for bringing you another edition of Monsters OT. We'll see you next time on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. I'm Tony Brown.